It's not a game, it's a rich thing.
And welcome back to the Busy Fan. Today we've got some action for you. We're going to talk about what's going on in playoff baseball, and then we'll also talk about the NBA Finals that are coming up. And tomorrow is the first Lakers and Heat game, so we're really excited for that. We're going to give you a little breakdown on what to expect, what we think the difference makers are going to be, and that's what we have to cover today. So let's start with the MLB. They just barely, today was the first day of their playoffs and everything, and so they started that. They call it the wild card, but usually in baseball, like they have a wild card where a couple teams who didn't get like an automatic bid in, they go and play in the wild card, and then the winner of that will go and play in the rest of the playoffs. But nothing is normal right now, right? So they changed the whole format, and they usually have 5 teams from the American League and National League both make the playoffs. This year they have 16 teams that made the playoffs, so much bigger than normal, and so definitely like shifted everything up. And so this first round is called the wild card for everyone. And basically why it's symbolized or why it's recognized as a wild card is because it's just a 3-game series, like what the wild card normally is in baseball. But that terminology can be a little confusing because forever in baseball, wild card has meant you weren't good enough to like automatically make it in, but you get a chance to play in and make it. But everyone's in the wild card this playoffs, and so it's different than normal, but kind of exciting. I think it'll be kind of crazy to see. I know a lot of people aren't baseball fans until the playoffs happen and they start taking interest in everything, and so that's why I'm putting an emphasis on it right now. It's just let you know, hey, this is what's going on. This is what we're looking at right now. Today, I'll just go over the scores real fast for today. They're not like super important because it was just game ones. But let me pull that up right here. The games that happened today. So the Astros beat the Twins. That one was actually a pretty big game because it was tied 1-1 in the 9th, and then the Twins just gave up a bunch of runs and couldn't come back from it. So the Astros won. The villains of the MLB, if you will. The White Sox beat the A's. The Rays beat the Blue Jays. And all of this is like, I wouldn't say expected, but not like a big shock. I think the most surprising thing was Yankees-Indians. So the Yankees won today, and it's not surprising that they won, but it's surprising by how much they won. So they won 12-3 today. They definitely took a big lead early in that game and just held on to it throughout the rest of the game. The thing about the Yankees this year, a lot of people have broken them down and talked about, what they are good at and what they're not good at. Really, they have some good pitchers on their staff. They're not like incredibly deep, but they do have like some of the best pitchers on their staff. And then their offense is really like where they're going to live or die off of. Their offense is super powerful. They had a lot of injuries throughout the season, but at times when they were back from injuries, they were still just inconsistent. And so we don't know what to expect from the Yankees. They can win the World Series, or they could lose their next 2 games to the Indians and be out. Like, that's what everyone's saying, is just they're so volatile that nobody knows whether you're going to catch them on their best day and they're going to be unstoppable, or their worst day and they'll be a walk in the park for any team. So that's something interesting going on in the MLB. Just to let you know, like, who the favorites are in this bubble environment, like nobody really knows what to expect. The Dodgers are most people's favorites, although as a Dodgers fan, I know that they're people's favorites a lot of times going into the majors and then can't pull it off. So we'll see what happens there. Really, I was looking at like what other people were saying and what they thought or who they thought were the best teams and everything, and everyone was like so different. So I decided to go to the source of all truth, which is Vegas, because Vegas does not want to lose their money. So they're usually pretty good at predicting these things. They have the Dodgers as a favorite right now. They're at plus 350. And then after that, it gets pretty tight. So then after that is the Rays at plus 700. And then the Yankees at plus 750. And then the Twins right below them at plus 1,000. So that's what they're looking at right now. They have the Dodgers as a pretty heavy favorite right now. But and I think for good reason. The Dodgers have been the best team in the majors this year, but they're just, you never know what to expect from them when the playoffs come around. So we'll see. But that's what's going on in the wild card right now in baseball, and we're excited to watch more of that and stay up on everything that's going on there. Now into the NBA. We finally made it to the NBA Finals. The Heat and Lakers. Super exciting matchup. LeBron, as everyone knows, he was on the Heat before, won championships there. Now he's on the Lakers, and he's turned it on. I guess he's turned into super I'm gonna kill you playoff mode. In all his interviews and stuff, he makes like a big point of how focused he is and everything, which I mean, who am I to correct LeBron James and like fix anything he's doing, right? I'm sure he knows what he's doing, but I also think he's just sick of people talking about how, Kobe had a killer mentality and Michael had a killer mentality and LeBron doesn't have that. And so I kind of think a lot of it maybe be like camera work, or may just be like people have been talking to him about it for so long that he just like wants you to know anytime you see him on camera that it can be a killer and can do all these things. But I mean, maybe it's not. Maybe it's not optics. I have nothing against LeBron James. I'm not like a super fan. I'm not a hater either. So, but that's kind of what's been going on. And I think if he is in like killer mode and like switch to up a gear, that should be scary because he's already been awesome throughout the playoffs. So I guess we'll see what happens. In this game, the Lakers are, well, not in the game. In the series, Lakers are heavy favorites. They are in the game, I guess, but more importantly, in the series, they're heavy favorites. I want to talk about some of the difference makers for the Heat, what might be able to change it, and some of the matchups that go one way or another. So I think the biggest thing for the Heat is they have an advantage at center. Anthony Davis doesn't like playing center. He plays power forward, and so it's usually JaVale McGee or Dwight Howard. And Dwight Howard especially was a big storyline in the Nuggets series. He was a big part in what made it possible for them to win that series. And so that'll be different in this, because I think most people have Bam Adebayo as a better center than Dwight Howard or JaVale McGee. So that'll tip the scales in the Heat's favor there. Now, the Dwight Howard of recent has been a lot better than Dwight Howard of the just before that. He used to be awesome. He used to be like great, and he's past his prime and everything, but now he's been looking really good in the playoffs and has been doing a lot for them. So we'll see what happens there, but I think the Heat definitely have the advantage right there. And power forward, Anthony Davis definitely has the advantage. The Lakers have the advantage. Now for the other positions, it's hard to say who has the favorite because you rarely know which one of those positions LeBron is going to be playing. And whenever he's playing either of those or any of those positions, the Lakers will have the favorite. But I think at point guard, Rondo has been doing really good. Rondo just knows his role and does his role and doesn't try to do too much. So he's been really good for them. But Dragic, on the other side, he's been putting up like 20 points in these playoffs, 20 points every game. So that'll be a really good matchup going against. Rondo's defense is really good, but I think that'll be one of the difference makers and seeing what happens there. Obviously, Jimmy Butler. I think one of the strongest things about Jimmy Butler too is he also knows his role. He's the leader of the team, does everything right, and when he needs to go get a bucket, he will. But he doesn't really care if it's him getting the bucket or if it's someone else getting the bucket. So I think he's been really good at just making sure all the right plays are made. Also, the Danny Green and Duncan Robinson. I think Robinson hasn't been like super great as of recent, so Green would get the favorite on that, except for Tyler Hero has been awesome. So when you put that tandem at shooting guard instead of just Robinson, I think they definitely outduel Green and whoever comes off the bench for him. That could be like a few different people, but I think when it all comes down, it's actually more even than people think going in. I think it'll be a good series. I'd say at least 6 games, probably 7 games in this. The Lakers have the advantage and everything, but I think the Heat's coach is a lot better than the Lakers coach. So I think it'll be a good series and everything. Excited to watch it, and those are some of the differences that we see throughout this series.